Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Friday, January the 1st of 2021, first day of the new year. Kicking it off with a 10-game slate, a really big slate that has a lot of injury news, so this should definitely be a fun one. Ton of guys that are questionable or are going to be out. There's a lot of good value right now as I'm recording this video on Thursday night, and there could even be more value open up as the day goes on Friday, so this makes for a very fun slate to kick off the new year. Hope you guys did have a good New Year's Eve. If you went out and, partied or anything, hope you stayed safe. Had a good time, though. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at Friday's 10-game slate. Just before we do get started, guys, as always, please hit the like button down below. I do always appreciate all the likes. Hit the subscribe button as well if you are new here. A lot of the people that watch my channel, that watch the videos on my channel, are not subscribed. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you do really enjoy my videos, if they help you out a lot, if you want to get more content from me, you want to see more that I do have to offer, I do have a Patreon, which is linked down below in the description. It is the first day of the month, which is usually always the best time to join on Patreon, because with how their payment schedule works, they charge you at the first of every month. So if you join on the first of the month, you're getting the most value out of your money by joining at the beginning of the month. So if you've ever wanted to join the Patreon, if you've ever wanted to check it out, I highly recommend you do it on the first of the month, which is obviously today. So check that out if you are interested. It is linked down below in the description. I do have a lot of additional content, much more in-depth stuff that is available on Patreon that you can check out. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at this slate. We'll start off at point guard. So Russell Westbrook, not expected to play here for the Wizards. They played on Thursday, They played on Thursday, and they've already come out and said that Westbrook is unlikely to play. It seems like he's going to rest on back-to-backs this year, whether it's on the front end or the back end. It doesn't seem like, at least right now, that he's going to play on back-to-backs. So Westbrook is not expected to play, which does open up some value, makes Bradley Beal a very good pay-up option, and we'll talk about him when we get to shooting guard. But we have Luka, Trae Young, LeBron, who is also questionable at the top of this position. Trae Young right now he's got the Q tag next to his name, but he's actually probable. He's expected to play, so I'm not worried about that. But just looking at Luka, Trae Young, and LeBron, if I have to choose one of these three guys, I think Trae Young is my preferred option. I did like Trae Young a lot, in the same matchup a couple of days ago. They just played Brooklyn, and they're playing him again on Friday. Trae Young did have a pretty good game, 53 Draftkings points in 32 minutes. It was a very high-scoring game, finished with a final score of 141 to 145. I wouldn't be surprised if you see another very high-scoring game here. As long as this game stays close, there is a ton of upside for Trae Young. We know this is a guy that is going to play big minutes as long as the game does stay close. 32 minutes was kind of a low for him. Normally he's around 34, 35 minutes, sometimes even 36 minutes. Kind of weird to see him play 32, but if this game stays close, we should expect 32 to 34 minutes from Trae Young, if not more than that. The guy has a ton of upside. We haven't really gotten that 60, 70-point game from Trae Young yet this year, but he does have that upside in him. Fast-paced game here against Brooklyn. Ton of upside for Trae Young. I do like him as a spend-up option, but I don't think he's a top play for me. I think there are other guys I'd rather spend up on this slate when you just look at the other positions like forward, center, even some of the mid-range options that we have at guard. But I guess if I had to choose between Luka, Trae Young, or LeBron, I think I'd go with Trae Young there. Scrolling down, you got Damian Lillard, Steph Curry. I do like Steph Curry here at 9,600. Curry is someone that I think is always going to be in play, especially when he's affordable. He's under 10K. He's just gonna have he's just gonna get a ton of usage. With this Warriors team, with how their offense is, with who they have on their roster, it's gonna be Steph Curry running the show every night. The ball's gonna be in his hands a ton. The only worry I ever have with Curry and the Warriors is that they're not the best team. There definitely is a chance that you see them get blown out a lot this year, but this is a game that should be close against Portland. I haven't looked at the spread yet, but I would assume Golden State's probably only 2 or 3 point dogs. I can check that real quick. Yeah, Golden State 3.5 point dogs right now. So this is a game that should be close. We should get 34 to 36 minutes from Steph Curry. Usage is going to be through the roof this year, especially until Draymond returns. I think Draymond is expected to play on this Friday night game, but in his first game of the year, Draymond can maybe be limited. I don't think that really affects Curry too much, especially with Klay Thompson done for the season. Curry's just going to have the ball in his hands a ton. Going to be a usage monster. I do like him at 9,600. I think he is definitely someone you can pay up for. And then, you got Kyrie Irving on the other side of that, Atlanta game, great spot for Kyrie Irving against the Hawks. He wasn't that great when these teams played a couple of days ago, but I'm fine going right back to Kyrie Irving. The matchup is so good. His upside's through the roof of this game. If this game stays close and if it is high scoring like it was, on Wednesday, I do like Kyrie quite a bit. I think I would rather play Steph Curry over him, but Kyrie is definitely in play at 9,300. But then looking in this mid-range, there's a guy that I really like here in the mid-range. D'Angelo Russell, I was very high on him on the last slate, and he didn't have the best game overall. He was solid, but he didn't really crush or anything. I'm going to be right back on D'Angelo Russell, 7,500 on Draftkings, which I think is a very affordable price tag. Looking at Yahoo, his price didn't move over there. He's still only $30 on Yahoo, so I do like D'Angelo Russell a lot on Yahoo as well. One thing that surprised me, he was very low owned on their last slate. On Wednesday's slate, I think he was under 10% owned in most of the tournaments that I was in. Like, not many people were on D'Angelo Russell, but without Karl-Anthony Towns, Russell does see a very nice bump in usage. He's going to have the ball in his hands way more. He's just going to have to do more offensively with Towns off the floor. It was a tougher matchup last time out against the Clippers. He did have 36 Draftkings points in 31 minutes. That game was a blowout, so he did not get to play his full allotment of minutes. I'm not exactly sure if he played in the fourth quarter or not. I think he did, but if this game stays close against Washington, which it should, D'Angelo Russell has so much upside here against this Wizards team. We know the Wizards play fast. They're not a good defensive team at all. I'm going to be right back on D'Angelo Russell. I think we're going to see a 45, 50-point game from him at some point, especially with no Towns. Like, his upside is just through the roof. His usage is going to be there as well. I do like Russell a lot at 7,500. He's one of my favorite plays overall on this slate, and definitely, one of my favorite guys to go to in that mid-range at guard. But then scrolling down, like, if LaMarcus Aldridge remains out, I think we can definitely go to Dejounte Murray. He's coming off a massive game last time out against the Lakers. Same matchup here, 49 Draftkings points in 35 minutes. Like, Dejounte Murray is getting the minutes right now. I don't think Derek White is expected to return yet, so Murray should continue to play big minutes. Usage should be even higher if Aldridge is out, so I do like Dejounte Murray. He's a little bit expensive. I'd rather play D'Angelo Russell if I can find the salary, but don't mind Murray in that 6K range. Donovan Mitchell, tougher matchup against the Clippers, but he feels a little bit too cheap for only 6,800. I did want to mention him. But then scrolling down, like Tyler Hero I've been playing, but with Jimmy Butler expect to play today, I'm off Tyler Hero. Not really going to be looking to him much. Kind of the same with Goran Dragic. Once we get 6K and below, not much stands out like in the 5K range. Like, LaMelo Ball is coming off a big game, his best game of the season against the Dallas. He had 29 minutes off the bench, 44 Draftkings points. I don't know what we're going to get from LaMelo on a nightly basis. Like, he could score 40 DK points again. He could score 20 DK points. The ceiling is high for LaMelo, but the floor is definitely low, which does make him a riskier option. But, against a Memphis team that I don't know if they're going to play as fast with John Morant out now, but it's still a somewhat favorable spot for LaMelo Ball. At 5,300 in tournaments, I think taking some shots on him does make some sense. I think the upside is there, but the floor is still relatively low. Like, if he comes out and does not play well off the bench, like, they're not going to give him big minutes. Really, the main reason he, got so many minutes was because he was just playing really, really well in their last game out. And, he does have that in him. Like, he's a very good player. I think he's going to be very good, long term. It's just, early on in the season, is he going to consistently play 28 to 30 minutes a night? I don't think so. It really just comes down to how he's playing. And, you got a game last time out where he played really well, so they gave him the minutes. That could flip around here. So makes it risky. I still do like taking some shots on LaMelo, though, in tournaments. Ricky Rubio is another guy that I do like a lot in tournaments. He actually started their last game against the Clippers. They moved him into the starting lineup, and he was somewhat productive on a point-per-minute basis. Did average a fantasy point per minute, 26 minutes and 26 Draftkings points. That was obviously a tougher matchup against the Clippers, but once again, like I said earlier, much better spot here for Minnesota against the Wizards. Fast-paced team, bad defensive team. If Ricky Rubio starts again, I think at 5,200, he is a great option in GPPs. He was I think he was 3-4% owned, maybe even lower than that. I know in some of the Yahoo tournaments I was in, Ricky Rubio was 2 or 3% owned. Like, nobody played Rubio on the last slate, even with them starting. If he starts again, I do like Ricky Rubio a lot. This is a guy that does have upside, can average a fantasy point per minute. I don't know if he's going to get massive minutes, but as long as the game stays close, I think 30, 32 minutes is likely from Rubio. And at 5,200 against the Wizards, he does have plenty of upside to pay off this price tag. So I like Rubio a lot in the 5K range. Tyus Jones, I don't mind either. I know he was really disappointing last time out. He was very popular, only played 23 minutes, but a lot of that had to do with the blowout. They got blown out by the Celtics. I don't think Jones played at all in the fourth quarter. If this game stays close against Charlotte, which it should, you should expect 30, 32 minutes from Tyus Jones, if not more than that. The minutes are going to be there. He's not nearly as productive of a player as some other guys priced around him. Like Ricky Rubio, I think, gives you more upside. But I think Jones' minutes are very secure right now. With no Morant, I believe D'Anthony Melton is still out as well. Tyus Jones should play 30 to 32 minutes. Probably is going to give you 25 to 30 DraftKings points. He's a fine play at 5,100, but not near as good of an option here, given it's a 10-game slate. We just have so many other plays than on the last slate where it was, I think, only 4 games or 5 games. I can't exactly remember. He was a much better play then. Not nearly as good of an option now. But scrolling down, looking below 5K, if we're talking about cheap plays at point guard, there is a value play that I do want to talk about here. So with Russell Westbrook not expected to play, we do have some value at point guard. Raul Neto is only 3,400 on DraftKings. He did start last time Westbrook was out, and I am assuming that Neto does get the start here again. It was this Orlando game on the 27th. That was the game that Westbrook was out. Neto played 32 minutes, had 40 DraftKings points. I mean, he was insanely good. I don't expect him to be nearly that good for this game, but if if Neto starts again and he's only 3,400, he's going to get probably close to 30 minutes if he starts. He's a top value play for me. DraftKings just didn't adjust his price. I mean, if he was like 5K today, I think it'd be a totally different story. But with him being 3,400, it's just so hard for him to fail at this price point. Like, even if he does get you, let's say he has a bad game and he gets 20 DK points, like that's still not killing you at 3,400, and he could easily go for 30 plus in this matchup if the minutes are there, assuming he does start for Westbrook. I like Raul Neto a lot. He's a top value play right now. 3,400 on DK. Also coming in very cheap on Yahoo, only $12 over there. I do like Neto a lot on Yahoo as well. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for point guard today, guys. Let's go ahead and move on to the shooting guard position. So at shooting guard at the top, Bradley Beal is the top option for me here. Without Russell Westbrook, his usage is going to be through the roof. I know he didn't have the best game last time out when Westbrook was out. It was that game against Orlando, like I said. He did play 39 minutes. He only had 47 DraftKings points, which is, still one of his best games of the season, but not, what we're expecting from Bradley Beal. Like, without Westbrook, we're expecting 50-plus fantasy points from Beal. We're expecting massive usage, massive minutes. And while he did play a ton of minutes, he didn't have as good of a game as I was hoping. But here, much better spot against Minnesota. Tougher matchup then, against Orlando, but against this Minnesota team that does play fast, that's not good defensively, like this is definitely one of the more appealing games to target on this slate, in my opinion. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to both, sides of this game. I like Beal, I like Rubio, I like D'Angelo Russell. Obviously, Raul Neto is a really good value. You could even go back to Naz Reid. Thomas Bryant's coming off a big game. You could definitely look to him. Like, there's just so many guys I'm interested in this game, and it starts with Beal. It starts with D'Angelo Russell. You could look to Neto for value as well, but I really like Bradley Beal here. Even with this price up to 9,400, I still think he's a top option on this slate with Russell Westbrook expected to be out. And on Yahoo, Beal is coming in at $40. I think he's just underpriced over there as well. He should probably be like $45, $46. Price tag's definitely too low on Bradley Beal today. This is a guy that has a ton of upside. The usage is going to be there now with Westbrook off the floor, and we know he's going to play massive minutes as long as the game stays close. So he's my top shooting guard. Scrolling down, though, looking for some other options. Like, not much really stands out at the top besides Bradley Beal. Like, Jaylen Brown is coming off a big game, but do I want to pay $8,100 for Jaylen Brown? On this slate, probably not. Just kind of more of a secondary option. In the mid-range, like, you could play D'Angelo Russell here, so you could do that. But, like, not much stands out in the 6K range. I mean, without John Morant, Dylan Brooks should benefit, should get more usage, should play, a ton of minutes as long as the game stays close. He's 6,300. It was a smaller slate then against Boston when they played a couple days ago. Obviously, on a 10-game slate like this, I think we're just going to have more viable options. So I'm probably not going to be nearly as heavy on these Memphis guys as I was on the last slate. Dylan Brooks is definitely in play, but I don't think he's going to be like a core play for me by any means. Like, I mean, not much stands out in the mid-range. It looks like Derek White is expected to play. So Derek White is expected to play. I didn't know that. So White is going to play, which I guess does hurt Dejounte Murray a little bit. I still have interest in Murray, especially if Aldridge is out, but worth noting that Derek White is expected to play today for the Spurs. Kelton Johnson, I did have a lot of interest in on the last slate. He was terrible. Only played 24 minutes, only had 14 DK points. I'm fine going back to Kelton Johnson. He's not going to be like a core play for me by any means, but especially if LaMarcus Aldridge is out, I don't really see a scenario where he plays 24 minutes again. I think his minutes should creep back up to where they were, low 30s. So don't mind him, but like I said, there's nothing that really stands out in like the 5K range. I do want to mention Josh Jackson. He's 5,200. I do have some interest in him. Blake Griffin has already been ruled out for this game for the Pistons, so I think it is likely that we do see Josh Jackson start at power forward for the Pistons. I believe he did start last time Blake Griffin was out. He's very affordable still. He's 5,200. His price did come up, but this is a guy that can average a fantasy point per minute. In the starting lineup, he should play around 30 minutes, can easily give you 30 DraftKings points. I don't mind him at 5,200. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but still, especially with Blake Griffin out, Josh Jackson is definitely in play at 5,200. Don't mind Anthony Edwards either, a guy you could look to. Coming off the bench, probably going to play mid to high 20s in minutes. Good matchup against Washington. No Karl Anthony Towns. Anthony Edwards, a really low-owned tournament play that I think does give you a little bit of upside you could look to there. Like I said earlier, I just want to get as much exposure to this Washington-Minnesota game as I can because I just think it's one of the most appealing games on the slate overall. But talking about value plays below 5K, Lonnie Walker's been playing really well, been getting solid minutes, but now with Derek White back, I don't think I really want to go to Lonnie Walker. You have Raul Neto you could play at shooting guard as a value option, but I think that's probably it for the shooting guard position. Jeff Teague started their last game, but I think that was mainly due to Tristan Thompson being out. With Thompson expected to play, I assume he moves back into the starting lineup, so I have no interest in Jeff Teague. Yeah, I think that's probably it for shooting guard, guys. So let's go ahead and move on to the small forward position. So at small forward at the top, you got LeBron, you got Kawhi Leonard here. Both guys I don't have much interest in at all. LeBron, even if he plays, I just think I'd rather go to some of the other studs on the slate. Kawhi, not the best spot here against the Jazz on the road. Just doesn't feel like a spot where I need to pay up for Kawhi on the road against the Jazz. Jason Tatum, I don't mind at 8,600. I guess he's my favorite pay-up option at small forward if I had to spend up here. But honestly, probably not going to be a position I really look to the top at. I think the mid-range, we have plenty of guys in the mid-range with upside. Assuming LaMarcus Aldridge does not play again, DeMar DeRozan is still only 7,300. Had 41 DraftKings points in 36 minutes last time out against the Lakers when Aldridge was out. They play the Lakers once again on Friday night. So if Aldridge is out again, we should expect increased usage for DeMar DeRozan. We should expect a ton of minutes as long as the game stays close. Very likely to give you 40-plus DraftKings points. And at 7,300, I'll take 40, 45 DK points all day at that price tag. So I like DeMar DeRozan in the mid-range. I think he is definitely a guy you can look to. Jeremy Grant should benefit with Blake Griffin out, but do I want to pay $6,800 for Jeremy Grant? I know he's been really good this year, but still that kind of feels like a lot to pay for Grant. Probably won't really be looking to him on this slate with this price, coming up to where it is. In the 5K range, if we're looking here, Otto Porter, I think, is a guy worth considering. He did start last game with Lauri Markkanen out, and Lauri Markkanen has already been ruled out for today's game, so it's very likely that Otto Porter does start once again for the Bulls, and he did play 31 minutes in the starting lineup. He was incredibly productive with 57 DraftKings points in 31 minutes. Obviously not nearly as good of a matchup here against the Bucks, but if Otto Porter is going to start again, play around 30 minutes, this is a guy that can give you a fantasy point per minute, can be very productive when he's on the floor. I don't mind him at all as a mid-range option as small forward. I think he's definitely someone we can consider in that 5K range. If LeBron sits, obviously Kuzma would become viable, but I'm just going to assume that LeBron plays today. We mentioned Josh Jackson. I do like Josh Jackson at 5,200. Denny Avdija has been playing pretty well for the Wizards recently. Hasn't been getting a ton of minutes, but does have some upside. Favorable matchup against Minnesota. No Russell Westbrook, which should mean just increased usage for kind of everyone in the starting lineup. Avdija, more of a lower owned tournament play, but does give you some upside. Does give you some exposure to this high scoring game, or what should be a high scoring game between the Wizards and the Wolves. I don't mind him at 5K. But if we're talking below 5K, there really isn't any, punt value plays that stand out. No one, as a cheap option really that I see, at least just looking at the slate on Thursday night. So let's go ahead and move on to power forward and talk about the power forward position. So at the top here, We got Giannis at 11K against the Bulls. Giannis, he's my top stud on the slate once again. He was my top stud on the last slate he was on, and he finally had a big game. I think he had a triple-double, had like 60-something DraftKings points. I like him a lot on both sides. He's only $50 on Yahoo, which is definitely affordable. Honestly, Giannis is too cheap on Yahoo. Like, Luka's more expensive than Giannis. LeBron is more expensive than Giannis. He's only $2 more than Jokic, only $2 more than AD. Like, definitely give me Giannis all day on Yahoo at power forward. My number one stud on the slate here against the Bulls. Very favorable matchup. The Bulls have always been a team that, has struggled to defend bigs, has always struggled to rebound. They were one of the worst rebounding teams last year. They were a terrible team defensively against power forwards and centers last season. I don't expect really much to change this year. Without Lauri Markkanen, I don't think that really helps the Bulls much at all for this game. My only worry is this game does have some blowout risk, but I've said this before. I'm not going to fade guys I like, because I'm scared of a blowout, because normally that just comes back to bite you in the butt in the end. Like, you'll fade a guy because you're scared of the blowout, and then the game will stay close, and the guy will go off. Like, I'm not going to fade Giannis because I'm scared of blowout. Like, if the game stays close, he's got so much upside against this Bulls team. I don't expect anyone on their front court to be able to slow him down. We know the minutes are going to be there as long as the game stays close. And we saw last time out against Miami, like 68 DraftKings points. That's totally in Giannis's range of outcomes, basically anytime he steps on the court. I love him here at 11K. I still think he's just a little bit too cheap with how much upside this guy has on a nightly basis. So love Giannis at the top. AD, not really going to look too much against the Spurs. Like, AD has been really disappointing this year. I don't know what's been going on with him, but since that Dallas game, like, he has not done much at all this season. Kind of tough to pay for AD right now. I don't really know what's going on with him. Rather just save salary, play Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant in a great spot here against the Hawks. Coming off a big game against them when they played a couple of days ago. Had 63 DraftKings points in 35 minutes. Just absolutely went off with nearly triple-doubled. He was 2 assists shy of a triple-double. I think because Kevin Durant went off in his last time out against the Hawks and they're playing again today, I think, you're going to see a little bit increased ownership on Kevin Durant, but still, at $9,100, I don't mind paying this price tag for him. I know his price did come up $700, but for good reason. It's a great spot for Kevin Durant. He has a ton of upside against this Hawks team that, fast-paced team, fast-paced game. This game should be high-scoring once again like it was on Wednesday. Definitely do like KD at the top, but scrolling down, talked about DeRozan I like in the mid-range, especially if Aldridge is out again. John Collins did do really well in this matchup, had 48 DraftKings points in 31 minutes, his best game of the season. Price tag really didn't move at all. I think we can go right back to John Collins. I do like him quite a bit. Like, this is a guy that has 40, 50-point upside. I know Clint Capella is on the team now, and while Clint Capella may take some rebounds away from Collins, he's not really going to cut too much into his usage. Collins should still be a very productive player when he's on the floor. It's just like, foul troubles has been a problem this year. It seems like he's dealing with fouls like every game. He had 4 fouls last game, but he still played 31 minutes. Like, as long as he's not in foul trouble, you're going to get about 32 minutes from John Collins. Has 40, 50-point upside in this fast-paced, high-scoring game. I do like him at 7,200, especially for tournaments. I would assume that he's probably going to be low-owned once again like he was on the last slate. But, like, in the mid-range, not much stands out, in the 6K range, at least looking at this slate the night before. Not much really catches my eye. We talked about Otto Porter, who I like at 5,600, assuming he starts again. Rui Hachimura, he started for the Wizards and had a solid game in 25 minutes, had 29 DraftKings points. I don't exactly know what we're going to get from Rui. Like, it is a back-to-back. They could limit his minutes, or he could play 25 minutes again. He could play more than 25 minutes. Like, we don't really know. At 5,300, I think there's plenty of upside for Rui at this price tag if he does get, high 20s in minutes. So I do like him in the 5K range. I think he is definitely a guy we can look to. But scrolling down below 5K, if we're talking about value plays at power forward, I think there's one guy that really stands out at the power forward position. He's really, really cheap on both sides. That's Thaddeus Young. He's 3,500 on DraftKings, and he's coming in close to minimum salary on Yahoo, coming in at $11 over there. So with Lauri Markkanen out for this game, he was out on Thursday's game, and Thaddeus Young made his season debut with the Bulls. He did not start. He came off the bench, but he still played 27 minutes off the bench, and he was very productive, had 31 DraftKings points in 27 minutes. My best guess is we get mid to high 20s in minutes once again from Thaddeus Young coming off the bench. No Markkanen should secure his minutes. At 3,500, like, he should easily be able to pay off this price tag if he does get, around 27 minutes again, or if not more than that. This is a guy that can average a fantasy point per minute. He's relatively productive when he's on the floor. He should not be 3,500 today. Like, he should be probably 5K. We're getting just kind of same with Raul Neto. Like, both Neto and Young should be around the 5K range. The fact they're only 3,500, Neto's 3,400. In my opinion, these are two of the top value plays right now as of Thursday night when I'm making this video. On Friday, we could get some injury news that maybe opens up some better value, but Neto and Young are the two guys that do really stand out to me as cheap plays. But let's go ahead and move on to center. We'll talk about the center position real quick before we do end the video. So at the top of the center position, you got Nikola Jokic at 10,600. Jokic has arguably been the number one fantasy scorer this season. I mean, he's averaged 64 Draftkings points per game so far. Like, he's just been an absolute animal so far this year. Look at his game log: 74, 51, 72, 60 Draftkings points. I think if I can get to Giannis, I would rather play Giannis on the slate. I do like, Bradley Beal in the mid-range, that upper mid-range. I like D'Angelo Russell I like a lot in, kind of the upper mid-range. But if I can get Jokic and Giannis together, like, I have no problems doing that. Jokic is definitely my second favorite stud behind Giannis on the slate. Like, talking about the guys 10K and above, Jokic would be number 2 for me. Like, he's just been so good this season. He's playing huge minutes. A matchup against the Suns, I'm not worried about at all. Like, the Suns have no one that's going to slow down Nikola Jokic. DeAndre Ayton, he's not really that good of a defender. So Jokic should continue to feast, should continue to have, really solid outings. His price is coming up, but we do have so much value on the slate right now that it should be pretty easy to pay up for Jokic. So I do like him quite a bit at the top. I like this spot a lot for Joe Val against the Hornets. I don't think Joe Val is going to be very popular at all on this slate. He was pretty popular on the last slate, and he kind of disappointed against Boston. 34 DK points in 24 minutes. But now he gets to face the Hornets, one of the best possible matchups you can get for opposing big men. The Hornets were terrible defending centers last year. They were terrible on the glass. They're a really bad rebounding team, and I don't really expect much to change this year. So I like Joe Val a ton at 8,300. I think he's going to be very low owned. His price tag actually came up after he had a disappointing game, so nobody's going to look to Joe Val. Makes for a really good tournament option with a ton of upside that's going to be very, very low owned. So I like Joe Val a lot. Looking to other mid-range options, John Collins we talked about, I have a lot of interest in at 7,200. Yusuf Nurkic remains cheap, but his minutes just haven't been there. The production really hasn't been there. Nurkic just kind of hard to trust right now, even at 6,700. I don't think I'm going to be looking to him on this slate, especially with it being 10 games with just so many options. Thomas Bryant I do like against Minnesota. Like this matchup for him, coming off a big game Thursday night against Chicago where he had 40 DraftKings points in 34 minutes. Like, Thomas Bryant, this is a guy that has 40-plus point upside. He's going to play big minutes as long as he stays out of foul trouble. I mean, he's played at least 26 minutes in all of their 5 games this year. He's played 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes in 4 straight games. He's going to play 30-plus minutes as long as this game stays close. And at 6,300, a fantasy point per minute player like Thomas Bryant can easily give you 35, 40 DraftKings points in this matchup against Minnesota in a fast-paced game like this. So I do like him a lot in the 6K range. Mason Plumley, I think at 5,700 remains a solid option. Without Blake Griffin, Mason Plumley should definitely benefit a little bit, and he still remains somewhat affordable. So I like him in the 5K range. James Wiseman, I think, so a guy we can definitely consider on a nightly basis. His production is going to be inconsistent for sure, but this is a guy that has a lot of upside. Can give you 30-plus DK points. I don't think he's going to play massive minutes, but, the guy has shown he only needs 24, 25 minutes to give you, 30, 35 DraftKings points. He's going to be a really low-owned play, but a guy that does give you some upside in tournaments at low ownership. Naz Reid, another guy that really disappointed last slate, but great spot here against Washington. Karl-Anthony Towns remains out, so we should expect Naz Reid to start. Probably play, around high 20s, maybe 30 minutes. His minutes I think are going to fluctuate from game to game depending on how he's playing. But if he comes out and plays really well, there is massive upside for Naz Reid against Washington, against this, bad defensive team. Thomas Bryant's not a good defender. I think we could see big games from both Naz Reid and Thomas Bryant just because both guys really don't defend well. I think we're going to see both guys have pretty good offensive outings. I do like Naz Reid a lot at 5,700. I will definitely be right back on him on this slate. He killed me last slate. He bit me in the butt, but I'm going to be right back on him. I just think the upside is through the roof, and I don't think he's going to be that high owned either. With how much he disappointed last slate, he was high owned as well. With this being a 10-game slate, a ton of options, I don't think a ton of people are really going to look to Naz Reid. But I think that covers center. Jakob Poeltl, I guess we'll mention. So if LaMarcus Aldridge is out again, you could look to Jakob Poeltl. He did start in place of Aldridge. He only played 24 minutes, but I think he was in some foul trouble, which caused him to lose a little bit of time. I would assume if he's not in foul trouble, we probably get about close to 30 minutes from Jakob Poeltl if Aldridge is out again. A guy that can give you a fantasy point per minute. Still only 4,500. Jakob Poeltl would definitely be in play as a cheaper option at center if LaMarcus Aldridge is out. But yeah, I think that covers center, guys. I think we broke everything down here, so I think that makes, kind of covers everything, breaks down everything for this video. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I do greatly appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button before you get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you do really enjoy my videos, if they help you out a lot, you want to get more content from me, be sure to check out my Patreon link down below in the description. You can see all that I do have to offer over on Patreon. It is the first of the month, which is, it's always the best time to join the Patreon is at the first of the month. So check that out, link down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Good luck tonight, guys. Peace.